Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to today's show, The Taste of Sports. We appreciate y'all tuning in today. Today we have a very special guest from the Dayton area, former Cincinnati Reds pitcher. I'm not going to say his name. I'm going to let Dan introduce him here in a minute. But we appreciate you coming. Let me give you a little heads up. If you have any questions for our guest, you can type them in the chat room. We're monitoring in all the chat rooms. Type in the chat. Let us know your question, and we can ask it on air, and we'll respond to you on air. That's how we work. You talk in the chat, we talk on air to you, and that's a two-way communication line that we have open with each other. So we're here today at Archer's Tavern, and I'm going to go ahead and cut it over to Dan and let him tell you who our special guest is today.
Thanks, Kevin. So I am extremely excited today because our guest is not only a former Reds pitcher, but he's also a good friend of mine. Mo Sanford. Welcome, Mo.
I'm glad to be here. Like I was telling guys earlier when I got here, I rode around Drayton for about an hour trying to get here, but I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, because you actually you live in Cincinnati, but you work in Dayton, right?
Yes, we have one of our tax business here in Kettering, actually, and that's how I met Dan. We did a golf outing together, and he was the leader of the golf outing. So I say, hey, what can I do to help out? Since I have an office in town, what can I help out to, with this golf outing in Kettering?
Yep, and you were a tremendous help to us. We did the Icky Woods Foundation. We were raising money for asthma awareness, and you were able, through your connections, you played as a celebrity, and then you brought some of your buddies in too. Tell us a little bit about some of the guys you brought in.
Yeah, I brought, I think it's Acura dealership here in Kettering also.
Yep.
I brought them in because they're some of their guys that work there. One of the main guys that work there is our client. So I just instantly called him up, and they have stores over in Dayton, Cincinnati. I mean, they got them all over. So I was like, hey, we're doing the golf outing in Kettering. You guys mind coming up and doing sponsorship? And hands down, they said yes.
Yep, they stepped up.
They stepped up. I can't remember all the guys I got, but it was a few guys.
What? And you got some celebrities too.
Yeah, I got Byron Larkin was there. The pitchers, 2 pitchers for the Reds, and then
you had Arroyo.
Arroyo
came,
and one other pitcher from the Reds, and I can forget his name. He came, and like I said, when I called those guys, it's like, oh, just give me the date, and we'll be there.
Yep, and that's the kind of guy you are, because anytime we've ever needed anything, just to invite you on this show, your answer was yes, just tell me when to be there, and you were here, which is awesome. So I want to tell you a little bit about this with Kevin and Rob. This is our second show, and it's really unique what TKDS Sports is doing. So why don't you guys tell us a little bit about what you're covering and how you're broadcasting some of the local sporting events?
Well, we'll go back in order. Just recently we've been able to kick off with youth baseball, which that's what I was telling you, it's really exciting for us because there's a complex down there, Action Sports, right in downtown Dayton, and they got the green light. It's privately owned, so the city they got the turf all put out. So that was one of the things we're doing, all the youth sports with multiple teams. We've done tournaments already, but we've done everything from high school football, high school basketball, girls, boys basketball. We're rolling into a lot of wrestling.
It's some AAU basketball.
Yeah, we did that in last summer.
Very early, yeah.
Yeah, and then we get into the youth too for football. We did a lot of peewee and some middle school, and we were rolling into the spring, so we'd have been girls softball, baseball, and then lacrosse.
We were heavy on lacrosse, yep.
But obviously.
But we had 3 track and field events too. We were going to.
Yeah, we're going to do it, and so we can get into anything. So the cool part is the depth and the width of the sports. Is incredible, as you know. So it's something that's been really, and now it's really important because we've had the elderly or people that can't go see the games. That's what we've been really getting, because this is the first time we've been able to do all this after the COVID. And we've gotten a lot of great response of people have been able to tune in and watch their grandkids for the first time.
And you could be in Germany watching somebody play.
Yeah.
I mean, this is going all over. Anybody who has access to the internet can watch these games, which is really cool.
Last night was it was crazy.
Last night was great. We were coast to coast, but one of our furthest away customer we've seen online so far was during our downtown boxing event for Drake's Gym of the Ale Beast. It's a charity event, and we did that stream, and there were people from Australia watching, and they were tuning in to watch Nick from Warp Wing.
Yep.
He was
Nick
boxing.
Bowman.
It was some friends of his.
I know Nick. Nick's a great guy.
So Nick was actually boxing, and he was boxing.
Pretty good, too.
Was he?
Yeah, because
we're friends.
It was so much easier from where we were at, me and Keith Byers talking about the boxing, but Nick's up there pounding this poor guy from Springfield, Mother Stewart, I
and
think.
he was from Mother Stewart's manager from Springfield.
Two
that they were
beer
boxing each other.
pubs going at it. Like,
So it was really good. And that's about the furthest way I've seen
Afghanistan.
so far. Oh, I forgot Afghanistan.
Springfield Trotwood football game, a guy from Afghanistan, which is one reason why Kevin actually did this.
Yeah.
Because he was overseas, missed his son's wrestling senior year.
So we're going to be, every Wednesday, we're going to be here at Archers in Kettering, and we're going to have some guests and talking about local sports, and we're just honored to have you here. So I sent a post up on Facebook this morning, and I wanted to see if anybody had any questions for you. Okay. And so if it's okay, I'll ask for them. So the first one, and this wasn't a question so much, but Preston said, Mo used to donate his time as a pitching coach at the Major League Baseball camp in Greenville, Ohio, and world-class guy right there, which I couldn't agree more. So you remember doing some of that in Greenville?
Yes, when I actually was to drive in '91. I got introduced to the guy that used to do all the camps in Greenville. So I used to drive from Mississippi up to Cincinnati, stay in Cincinnati, and drive to Greenville, do a camp, and drive all the way back to Mississippi after the camp was over with. So, yeah, I did a lot of camps in Greenville when I was playing from '91 to probably '95, '96.
Okay.
And,
Nice.
all over the area, not just Greenville. The Reds used to have a basketball team during the off season. So we travel all over Dayton, all over Ohio, just doing basketball games and signing autographs after the game.
They took baseball players and made them play basketball.
Would they play school teachers or something? Yeah, it was fundraisers or something. The Reds band. Yeah.
At Wilmington. Was that at Wilmington?
Nice.
Yeah.
We've got some people in the audience here, too. And, in fact, the next question is going to come from the audience. So Jessa is in the audience. Jessa, how old are you? You can hold your hands up. 5?
5 years old. Nice.
Jessa was here an hour early to meet with you, and she's a big Reds fan, and she wanted to know, do you have any babies?
Well, I won't call them babies now.
That can get you a little trouble there.
Formerly babies.
Yeah, I just had my oldest daughter just graduated from University of Miami, and so she's done with school. I have a 7 and a 4-year-old, and they might be babies, but they act like grown-ups. So, but no, they're good. They drive me crazy now because they're staying home. But no.
So Miami, Oxford. Obviously, it's in Oxford. Yeah.
Yes.
And then Jim Connerty asked, what advice would you give to young players who want to make it to the major league level?
Ooh, good question.
That is a great question. Dedication. Know what you want to do. You have to dedicate yourself as a baseball player. I don't say, do the sport year-round. You don't have to. I did. I played basketball. That was really my favorite sport.
What are you, about 6'4"?
6'6".
6'6".
Wow.
Yeah. So, but I played basketball throughout. But you got to dedicate yourself. It's hard to do, because you might have some friends who want to pull you other directions. But my best friend and I, we played baseball during the summertime. And actually, he played professional baseball, and he actually lives in Cincinnati, not too far from me. So we grew up just playing baseball. And then, like I said, he played football, I played basketball. So playing other sports will help also. But dedicate yourself to what you want to do. I don't care if it's baseball or it's something else. You got to dedicate yourself.
Were you a multi-sport student in high school?
Yeah, just basketball and baseball.
Just basketball and baseball. Kind of like Keith was football and baseball, but he ended up going for football. It's kind of the same
Back
thing.
in the day, everybody played it all, but then eventually you had to peel off maybe a sport, one of them. It was hard to do all three, but.
Well, I was never football. Too small.
Yeah.
Too small.
Too small.
Now you'd be a
Too
great
smart.
wide receiver, super tall, could jump.
Too small for football. 185 pounds.
I was going to say, you mean thin. You had the height. It was the weight.
So here's one from Brian. He said, what was the dynamic like between the offense and pitching staff? Did you ever get on your teammates for a lack of run support? Brian's a baseball fan, so that's a pretty in-depth question.
No, not at all.
No?
Just for the fact I have to go do my job.
Yeah.
I cannot worry about what other people are doing. As long as I do my job, I give my team a chance to win. And that's the biggest thing. They can have all we need to score is one run. We don't need to score 10. So if I hold the other team to 0, that one run is it. So that's
just pitch a shutout, Mo. That's all we need.
That's all I need. Let's go out and pitch a shutout. So it really, because sometimes offense will pick me up, and I might give up 5.
Right. They
might score 8. So no, I'm not gonna ever get on anybody. As long as I do my job.
Let's say how they outnumber you.
Right. That's what you said though is great advice for anywhere in life. If you can just focus on what you're supposed to do, the rest is going to fall into place.
It's going to fall into place, and that's my biggest focus on, especially trying to teach young kids. Do what you have to do to make yourself better. So when you do your job, don't worry about what else happened.
Yep.
You might get the loss, but if you feel happy that you did well out there, hey, you're good.
Yep. Yeah,
I lost a lot of games, maybe by 2 runs or 3 runs. I still did my job. I spent 7 innings. We just didn't win that day.
Yep. All right, here's one from Doug. Do you think the Reds have ever had a better rotation on paper than now with Castillo, Bauer, and Gray?
Oh, I was looking, the World Series. Yes,
yeah.
The World Series team, but this year I was really looking forward to the summer.
Right.
It's been heartbreaking for me to see nothing's going to happen this. It's probably going to happen later on this summer, but I was really looking forward to this summer because now pitching's going to take you longer than offense. It's been proven, it's been shown.
Right.
Hey, you can have all the offensive power you want. You can have good pitching, you're not going to win. Now we have good pitching, got a great opportunity to win. And I said this many of times. Let's put up a shut-up this year.
Yep.
You can't say we don't have it. You got some offense. You have some pitching. Now you guys got to put it together and at least make the playoffs and at least advance a little bit farther than you have before.
And now they got to develop a culture to win.
Yes, exactly. So the front office just put them out there now.
Yeah.
They spent some money this year. They haven't done it in a while. They spent some money. They've done it at the right time. And it's a couple of teams like Milwaukee and Pittsburgh are down. Only team you're going to really have to worry about is St. Louis.
I think we pick up the second baseman. That was
those Cardinals?
That was a big pickup early was the second baseman, right? Yeah. Is that from Milwaukee? I can't even remember. It's been so long since we've talked about the Reds.
And the Cubs are down too. So it's, Reds had a good chance.
Right.
But they can't finish in second. It's not going to be acceptable in Reds country.
Well, you're in the middle of Dayton Flyer land.
Yeah.
And I graduated from the University of Dayton, and you couldn't have picked a worse year for them to have the best chance they've ever had. I mean, I legitimately think they could have won the national championship. There were days they were the best team in the country.
Right.
So it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
So I've got a question for you that just came up as we're talking. I know you don't do anything day to day with the Reds, but what's your relationship like with Cincinnati now? Do you just follow them? Do you ever have any contact with anybody on the team?
Well, the Reds Community Fund, I worked with them for years. Since they really started, I forget what year they started, but I've been working with them for years. The Community Fund, when they opened a new building, been down there working with those guys. Also, Marty has a big golf outing. He's been doing it last year was his 10th year. So I've been there since day one, doing it with the golf outing. And he's raised so much money with that golf outing. And it's amazing. Is that their terror? You're there for 2 nights. Great golf course. And like I said, those are the things that I've done since I stopped playing. I haven't really done anything else but that.
Now, on top of the tax business that you have, you still do, or you have done some coaching and training?
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I work with kids. There's a place in West Chester I've done lessons with kids and worked with teams. Outside with the Reds Community Fund. But since this COVID's going on, I have stopped it completely just because I'm trying not to bring anything home. But, yes, since I have stopped playing, that was my main thing is just, giving back and working with kids as much as I can.
And that's something you'll go back to once life gets back to normal? Or
Yeah, and I have some, guys call me all the time and say, hey, you still working? No, not yet. But, yes, I will go back to it eventually.
Probably a year or so.
Well, or it just depends. I like catching my own lesson. That's my biggest problem. So I'm constantly touching the ball. Now, if I have a catcher that will catch for me and I don't have to do anything for us with the baseball, I'll do it now.
Now you're allowed to doctor up the ball. We saw this term the guy was spraying the ball and he throw it back on the field for this past weekend.
He didn't know what he was spraying with, but I thought he said vodka, but that wasn't for sure.
A little vodka in the bottle because it's a distillery, yeah.
Now, Mo likes bourbon.
Oh, does he?
Bourbon guy.
Right.
Yeah, Mo and I both like bourbon.
So that'd be
Mo-
Brad. What that Brad still at the still
I was just going to
rights.
say, have you ever
Spray
been down to
still
Still
rights
Rights
with the
in Fairborn?
No.
Oh, when we bring them here, we'll bring you around. Brad, you'll love it.
Okay.
You'll love it. It's great.
Waynesville would be
Fairborn.
good.
Fairborn or somewhere. We'll have it in the show. He's a good guy.
So here, I got one more question here. Nico Sikor wanted to know, who's your
Nico.
favorite pitcher today in the game?
God, that's wow. Who's my favorite pitcher in the game? I like Verlander. I like watching Verlander pitch. I like watching.
nice.
God, it's a couple. I haven't watched baseball in so long.
I know. It's a
Yeah.
But I do
replays.
I do like Verlander because he's just aggressive. The pitcher that went to the Yankees, Derek Cole. He's just aggressive. I like watching guys that are aggressive in the strike zone.
Yeah, he did jump from the Astros to the Yankees over in the offseason.
All right. So those guys, I love watching guys like that. They're very aggressive in strike zone and, competitive.
What was I remember you playing, although I couldn't tell you that much about you in particular, but what was your best pitch?
I tell people this all the time, and whatever works that day.
Yeah.
Nice. Just have a lot in your toolbox, right?
Yeah,
Would you at least have three? I mean, you get three pitches.
3 pitches: fastball, curveball, changeup.
Changeup.
So whatever works that day, that's what's
Right.
that's going to be my best pitch.
Yep.
That's a good one.
That's
I
funny
like
because
that.
sometimes in the warm-up, I've heard guys talk about it. They've had some of their best games. I said, the thing is, I was struggling in warm-ups in the bullpen, and then all of a sudden they get out there, right? And, I mean, you just, like you said, you never know between the humidity, the weather. If the curve's not working, then you got to figure something out. Like you said, I got to at least have 2 pitches. I can't. There's no way we'll survive. No major league pitcher can survive on 1 pitch.
It's
So
been many times. Actually, in the minor leagues, I pitched no-hitter, but I was horrible in the bullpen. I think I walked two batters in the first inning. Ended up striking out 14 and pitched a no-hitter that day.
Walked
Nice.
the first 2 and then ended up with a no-hitter?
Yeah.
Wow.
And, I walked
screwed up
three.
his perfect game. At least,
Right. So I know walking
got that out of the way the first batter, right?
Yeah, so it really depends. I mean, and it depends on the person. Sometimes you can, have great bullpens or before a game or a bad bullpen, you go in the game and I feel horrible. I'm not gonna be worth anything today. But you got to have that mental state and say you got to work through it.
Did you ever come out of the bullpen, or you were all start? You did starting the whole time.
I did come out of the bullpen.
Okay.
And that was part of my
Whole different mentality, isn't it?
my first year of doing it. Early in the year I struggled because I'd never done it before.
Right. That's what I was wondering. Yeah.
But towards the end of the year, I loved it because I was out there every 2-3
Right.
days. And being a competitor,
Right.
I want to be out there.
That's incredible.
And now you're talking about college. You pitched at Alabama.
Correct.
Yeah. Do you still have ties with Bama? Roll Tide?
Roll Tide. Do I have time? I talked to the pitching coach now. They turned over a couple times, and the new coaches down there. I didn't talk to the pitching coach a couple times down there. I've been there once. They promised us a stadium in '84 when I first went to school there. So they finally did it 3 years ago. So now they got about a $40 million stadium, and it's unbelievable. If you don't want to play baseball, don't go to school there because you have everything in front of you. They have meals for you, vitamins, and they have anything you need. We were lucky to get a hot dog. So
Yeah. I hear that a lot from guys that played, even at a major league level or NFL level. Back in the 80s and 90s, it was a lot different than it is now.
Totally
They didn't
different.
have these guaranteed bonuses and signing bonuses and all that.
Oh, yeah.
And there's some pretty funny stories from early on with the Bengals too.
Oh, yeah.
About just scraping things to get by. But
yeah, I mean, my just listen to some of the guys with Bengals, they had second jobs. They had to have
Yeah.
a second
Yeah.
job, after the season's over with. And some of the Reds players, older players had to do the same thing. They had to have a second job. It's not like now, you can make a lot of money playing baseball now.
And my cousin got drafted in the NBA, and he actually went up to play up in Akron in Goodyear because the Industrial League paid more money than the NBA back then.
Wow. Wow.
yep, it's a different world for sure.
Yes.
I got a couple of questions, or you want to talk about Archers a little bit?
Well, we
or
can talk about Archers.
what do you think, Kevin?
It's a good point for a good little break to talk about breakfast at Archers. and
Seventh
what's
inning
going
stretch.
on.
Little 7th inning stretch, sure.
There we go. Let's first tell that, on our Dayton baseball show, we are running a contest right now. If you were on TKDS Sports Network or Dayton Baseball, you will see that we are running a show. We are giving away gift certificates for Jimmy John's right now that you can sing Take Me Out to the Ballpark. Individually, as a group, as a team, videotape it, and post it on our social media site. And the most liked, the most viewed, the most creatives will win some Jimmy John's for the teams and stuff. So that's going on there. But let's talk about your breakfast, Dan. Tell us about breakfast at your 2 locations now.
Well, yeah. So, when this pandemic hit and there were all these restrictions, initially we just shut down completely. So we didn't do carry out, delivery, anything like that. And now that state of Ohio and Governor DeWine have had the restrictions on social distancing and so forth, we had to come up with some way to replace that lost revenue. So we thought, what do we have? We've got a lot of talented cooks. We've got the kitchen. We've got a front of the house staff that needs their income as well. So we decided, let's go
first
ahead and
meal of the day, buddy.
Breakfast. Yeah. So this is pretty cool. We actually, the 2 Archers, the one in Centerville and Kettering, and then we also have Stonehouse Tavern down in Waynesville. And, well, gosh, it's only been 7 days. Last Tuesday, we decided to start breakfast at 7 a.m.
The day after Memorial Day.
Day after Memorial Day. And so, I think a lot of people out there still don't know that we have breakfast. We've got what we call a BYOB, build your own breakfast.
Yep.
So, you can get an omelet. You can get one of our specialties is called a hot mess. We take tater tots and our homemade sausage gravy and cover it with cheese and an egg. And
it's a hot mess, I tell you.
Man, it's I don't like to eat it in the morning because I need to take a nap for lunch, But it is good. And there's something else that is really cool that we're going to be doing in Centerville here in the next couple of weeks. I spent the morning down at Rooted Grounds Coffee down in Cincinnati. And it's locally owned, a couple of great guys that we were down there talking about some new coffee drinks we can put together. And so, yeah, we're really looking forward to breakfast and where
we're close to an espresso and a cappuccino. Is that what you're telling me?
We're baby steps. We're a couple steps away, but we're getting there.
So a hot mess and a nice shot of espresso to give you a kick in the butt.
Man, I thought I was
get you going again.
I was in there the other day.
He's a coffee guy. He's definitely a coffee guy.
I drink so much coffee. Yeah. It's ridiculous.
I was in there the other day, and I had a nice little sandwich. You guys had that nice 2-egg sandwich, and it was great. It was just tasty. I was at Saul Spiro's. He was there. I think I told you.
Yep.
I spoke Greek to him. It seems like he comes in quite often, though. So,
yes.
But it was good. It was a couple people in there coming and having breakfast, and we kicked in usually about 8, so it was pretty good.
It's definitely catching on for sure.
And the veterans in the afternoon, you said, for veterans?
Yeah, so, again, just to try to we were calling it flatten the serve.
Yep.
And so to encourage families to come in, if you're a veteran, a first responder, or you work in the medical field, we'll give your entire party 10% off between 2 and 5. So instead of, waiting for the normal dinner time, if you can come in at 4:30 when we're not as busy, we'll give you 10% off. And then after 8 o'clock every night, we're doing a free kids meal with a adult purchase. Again, if you're thinking about, going out to Archer's or Stonehouse Tavern at 7:30, wait another half hour, and then we're going to go ahead and take care of your kids' meals for you. So it's just trying to replace that revenue and flatten the serve, spread it out a little bit throughout the day.
Nice. Well, that's really good. So there you go. We'll bring back in and talk a little more baseball maybe with our guest here. How about that?
I know I got a couple questions. First of all, played a little basketball, but in high school, you weren't just a pitcher. I'm sure you played other positions, right? Did you get a chance to hit, or you did other things, or were you just a pitcher in high school?
High school, I did get a chance to hit, but
yeah.
I was good enough. High school is high school.
Right.
Once you get into college and professional baseball, totally different story.
Right. So you just pitched at Alabama, obviously. You came in as a pitcher.
Correct.
So another thing I was thinking is, so who were your catchers for the Reds? Because it's always, we talk about the pitchers, but, man, I tell you what, you and the catchers, right? I mean, if you and the catchers aren't in sync, it doesn't work. So.
It doesn't work. My name's just flying off my head. He was with the World Series with the Reds.
Joe Oliver. Okay, I was gonna say the years he was there was right out. I mean, he's still fresh off the World Series, the year of '90.
Right.
Because I was gonna say your lineup obviously Barry's the captain, shortstop.
Right.
I was gonna think was Duncan still the second baseman? I'm trying to think who was left. Sabo, Morris would have been around. Benzinger. A lot of Cincinnati boys, Michigan, University of Michigan, Cincinnati, by the way. A lot of ball club. I mean, and the catcher would have been Joe. Okay.
Joe and ED was in center field. Right field was Paul O'Neill, and left field. I cannot remember.
I forgot.
Well,
how
left
good
field
that
was
team
Catcher.
Well, I was gonna say left field was always like it usually is. It's always the revolving door is usually ends up being the left field position. Is always you never know who's going to be out there. But yeah, and Paul was from Columbus, so I always talk about. I always say Cincinnati's the baseball capital of the world because the Reds have had a lot of homegrown Cincinnati players, Hall of Fame, big time players play there. I mean, when Dave Parker played, when we were growing up, and
Cooper he's the man. And he does a golf island. I see him a lot. It's impressive to see him in person. Just after watching him and growing up, it's just impressive. Like, oh, that's Dave Parker.
Right.
But
you know him when you see him. I was gonna say he's
yeah. But now since he's had his illness, he's become a different person. He's smaller now, but still, he still has that humor.
Right.
Can't get away from the humor. He still has that humor.
So I know a lot of former Bengals, and I do some work with them with Ickey Woods and David Fulcher and Anthony Munoz. But what's interesting to me, and you're kind of mentioning it with some of the baseball players, a lot of these guys stay around Cincinnati. I would imagine they have enough money that they could live in different areas of the country. But what is it about Cincinnati that made you decide too that this is where you wanted to raise kids and settle down for a while?
Well, I mean, it was a lot different growing up in Mississippi and coming here. I had more opportunities to do things. I had more opportunities to work with kids here in this area, and it gave me more opportunities to do more with baseball than I did growing up in Mississippi. So, I have gone back to Mississippi, and I have some friends that done some camps and stuff like that. But it's not the same as it is here. So
it's a home. Did it felt like a home once you were around here long enough and kind of?
Yeah.
That's usually what we hear too. I mean, that's kind of that same thing with Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. A lot of people come back to Dayton because it's kind of a home. They feel, obviously no one's here for the weather. We get 4 seasons of weather, so we know it's not the weather. It's typically the culture.
I am because I'm a hunter, so I like
Oh, nice! There we go.
There we go.
I love it.
Just spun into something else right there.
Yeah, I like the seasons. I don't like.
Yeah.
And I tell people I'm not hunting.
You like a good fire too, right? You like your winter. You like all the seasons.
Yeah, I like being outside when it's.
Is there anything special you hunt? Turkey, duck, or?
Well, it's deer hunting and turkey hunting right now.
Okay, nice.
And Dan has always asked me, let's go fly fishing. I haven't done it yet.
Oh, God. That.
I got a message from John, our other buddy. We're getting that set up in June.
Where are you going?
So,
there you go.
The Asabo? We going up to Asabo?
No, I would love to go to Asabo. I love Michigan. But, no, I actually I belong to a club.
Oh, nice.
Outside of Urbana. So we go up there. And we've been hunting before. I'll tell you what. So, when I'm out there in the field and you look up at that tree stand and Mo's sitting there at 6'6", I don't know how deer gets anywhere near him because I wouldn't if I saw him up there. But, yeah, he's a heck of an outdoorsman, and I'm really looking forward to hunting.
Nice.
I'm sorry, to fishing with you.
Southeast Ohio, where's your favorite deer? You stay in Cincinnati, Adams County, or do you go over to?
Well, I got another friend of mine. So I live in Westchester, so I have another friend of mine that lives off of 32. Going towards.
Yeah, Highway. That's what I was wondering. You head east.
You got big deer out there. You got all the corn and all the feed out there. So he owns a lot of land out there. He's been from a friend of mine for a long time. And he said, whenever you want to come out, just come on out.
So I figured I went to OU, and so I lived in Athens for 7 years. So Meigs County and Benton County and all that, and then anything in between, like I said, anything between Cincinnati on the App Highway, it's kind of one of the deer capitals of the world.
And then meeting with Dan, his buddy John, he has a big place over that we went hunting last year. So I'm not short for land. I got plenty of land to hunt on.
Right.
I just got to get there.
Right. That's exciting. That's good.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. So we're going to make that fly fishing happen. But you also have another hobby that's close to my heart, and that's if you get something, smoking it. It, and you're kind of a foodie.
Yeah, Taste of Sports right here. This is what we call it. This is where we like to bring in some fine.
This is about food, friends, and sports right here. Taste of Sports,
Yes,
and we're talking hunting too, so that's a sport.
And smoke,
absolutely,
not just grilled. We're talking. So yeah, I'd like to hear more about that. So what's some of the smoked specialties?
So yeah, do you do any I gotta do Keith, but Keith does salmon and canned salmon. Do you have a special talent we don't know about in some sort of food?
Well, I'm not going to say it's a special talent. I'm always learning, but I love to smoke food. Growing up in the South, it's barbecue.
Yeah.
So, I love to cook. I'm the cooker in the house. So, if it's a nice day, I'm outside on the weekend. Like if Bama's playing on the weekend, trust me, I'm gonna be outside cooking. So I like cooking ribs. I like doing brisket. I like doing the pork shoulders. You know, I actually changed my smoker to another smoker just to start getting better at it. So looking forward to this
So
summer.
dry rub, or what's your sauce? Is it more of a sweeter? Because once you get into the barbecue sauces around the country, then it really.
Okay, let me say this, and
Yeah.
people might hate me in this area. I do not like sweet sauce.
Okay.
I'm a spicy guy, so I will mix a sweet, but it has to have a kick at the end.
Right.
So you know, I sometimes I might mix a couple sauces together just to get what I want. So,
Right.
But it's always going to be spicy, and for the household, the kids and the missus don't like it.
More food for Mo.
So I had to do Montgomery Inn for them, and
Mo comes in, they all look in. What are you all going to eat?
So, I was gonna ask a
Montgomery
question.
Inn. I was going to say that was
Let me
Willie
slide
Stargell.
another food question.
Oh,
just
good.
real
That good.
quick
Go
here.
there. Go there.
So, and I didn't tell you I was going to talk about this, but we got together a couple months ago, and you brought some crab cakes. And I tried them, and everybody there said, holy cow, these are delicious. So I went ahead and I texted you. I said, hey, could you send me that recipe? You did. We made it. And then for Lent, we started making them at Archer's. And we were selling them, and people were really starting to get excited about these crab
Nice.
cakes. We were running out of them every night.
Sounds like
Your
he's going to make the
exact
menu.
recipe.
Mo cakes. I like it.
Yeah, I don't think we ever told anybody that they were yours. We didn't put your name on it. But it was
Breaking
your
news
exact
right there,
recipe.
Dan.
know.
The rest of the story's out.
Well, so we had to, when we shut down, that came to a screeching
Yep.
halt. But I called the kitchen manager at both Centerville and Kettering, and we're going to be making your crab cakes this weekend. So if anybody wants to
nice.
come out this weekend to Archer's, they won't be ready today, but by Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we're going to have Mo Sanford's
Nice.
famous crab cakes.
Mo's
And
famous crab cake.
They are
I appreciate it.
delicious.
All right, thank
So,
So we'll talk about that at the tournament.
absolutely.
We'll mention there's some
We've
special
got a-
things going on up in Archers.
We
up
got
in
a
Dayton.
nice tournament out at Action Sports. We'll be there all weekend with all the
Right.
little league, and tell them to come down there and get some for sure. So my question: you said you grew up in the South, since novice in the area myself. Where in the South were you from?
Stockton, Mississippi, which is
Mississippi. Okay, deep South.
Mississippi,
I screwed that up. I told him Georgia. He was right. You said
I
Mississippi.
was
He
thinking
got it.
Georgia. I was waiting to hear
Yeah.
how South Georgia, because that's my dad's from Georgia.
Well, actually, I was born in Georgia.
Okay,
Where-
maybe
whereabouts?
that's part of the bio that I probably saw.
Americus, Georgia.
How far?
Okay, that's right. America's
So
Georgia.
looking at the state of Georgia, is that south, north, east, west? You don't know? You moved too quick?
He was baby.
No clue. I have no clue.
Yeah, my dad's from Georgia, but south, middle, it's like, that area. So family in that area too. That's why I was waiting to talk about southern food. I was looking for grits and
Mississippi's pretty
and
south.
some shrimp and some,
Can't go
Oh man, sounds like a Bubba Gump.
Hey, I'm getting hungry, guys. Where are we
I feel
going?
like a Forrest Gump movie. We're going into a Forrest Gump movie.
So you do have a hidden talent. You get where we got. Now we got to get Keith Byers together with the salmon and Mo with his crab.
so
So we're going to have
having
a
good
whole
bourbon and
menu
good food
of
is going to be a
sports
show. Yeah, we'll
promoted
definitely have
menus.
some
Look at
fun.
that.
I'll tell you who else does
I
a
know
heck
Mo
of
will
a
be
job with barbecue and cooking is Pete Johnson,
Oh boy.
Yeah.
the
Here we go.
running back.
Really?
Yeah, he does. He puts together a dry rub, and he loves cooking.
That man looks like
and
he's probably
barbecuing.
eating some. He's eating some food in his day. He doesn't.
So we
he's
got to
not
think of
shy.
a sports-related, food-related
Oh, yeah.
type of a cook-off maybe with them and see what the fans like the
We
most.
absolutely can
I'm
do
sure we
that.
can get Keith to come do that with you, Mo, and your crab cakes and let people try it as a little dish with some dry rub from somebody.
Especially in the distancing, having, like you said, having a special event where you can be kind of inside, outside, the comfort and
Well,
you know,
it's funny.
the
I've
smell of that, just good.
I've been interviewed for a few articles and stuff about how restaurants are dealing with this, and everything about our taverns. And the whole reason I love this business was it brings people together. From the time, I remember going to Harrigan's Tavern when I was a kid thinking how cool it was, and just it was packed and all these people were together. And that's everything we do. All the decisions we made up until 3 months ago was how do we bring more people together
Right.
to share a beer, to share a bourbon, to have some crab cakes. And it's really taken some adjustment.
Yeah.
When people say
We all like to
"You
eat,
can't
though.
be
We
together."
like to
Yeah,
eat, and we like
do
to be
eat.
together. So we got to figure out how do we do that.
Yeah.
Well, your anniversary. I know we haven't talked. Something down the road. I know those hamsters have been turning
Yep,
big time
well,
to figure this out. That'd be neat.
Our Centerville location was the first one we opened, and we opened it on June 28th, 2010. So this year was going to be geared toward two things: celebrating our 10-year anniversary, which we're still going to do. We
Right.
just don't know exactly how we're going to do it.
You can't roll back the calendar. It's
well,
10 years no matter what.
You know, it's funny. I was talking on my drive over here, I was talking to my partner, Mike Fullenkamp, and we were talking about what would be a cool promotion to do for that. And one of the problems would be we can run a promotion and then get a bunch of people excited to come, and then we're going to have to sit at the door and go, hey, you got to go wait in your car.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's really tough to try to promote getting people in when you can't have all the people in.
At the baseball
know?
park, they have balls painted on the ground 6 feet away from Asia with arrows which way to run. So maybe you can have they go around the parking lot,
Just circle
round
them
robin a
around,
bunch
you
of
know?
bunch of places. We'll have everybody out in their tents making their food.
Yeah.
So, and then the other big thing that we were really excited about this year, we were invited to the National Chicken Wing Festival in Buffalo, New York.
Yep.
Which being invited from Ohio is just unheard of. Drew Cerza, who runs it and has been on Food Network Throwdown.
Yeah, I remember you saying
He
that.
got in touch with us and said, hey, why don't you come out to Buffalo this year? That was Labor Day weekend, and we were going to be trying different sauces and doing all kind of cool stuff. And last I talked to him last week, he said it wasn't looking good for the chicken festival. So it's just a weird year, but we'll adapt and we'll celebrate the heck out of breakfast and stuff like that. And
I might have to bring the family up for breakfast. We're breakfast people.
you know you're welcome anytime. And it's like you said, when you're pitching, you just focus on your job. All I can do is control what I can control. So we do the best we can every day with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so we've been going for a little bit. So, Amo, you got anything you want to tell anybody in the area or anything you want to ask us? Or I'll let you take over for a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, the biggest thing is, how did you guys start this? I mean,
Oh, boy.
What prompted you guys?
I guess that's my story.
I'm a wingman. He's the pilot. There ain't no doubt.
I'm kind of off camera right now, but that's fine. They can know who my voice
What
is.
person
So-
asked you the question? You answered it.
Yeah. So I kind of stumbled into it, to say the least. I'm a military guy. I deal with a lot of video, UAV data, and different type of data into command centers as an intel guy. And years ago, I had been deployed and not got to see my family play their sports as my son was growing up into high school and stuff. I have younger kids now too, but I missed state championships and stuff like that. And then I started getting cameras and doing stuff and just toys, playing with drones and stuff in the local area. And some people got hold of me. A guy we know, you might even know him, Chuck Taylor. He's in town, Dayton Nets, like Mr. AAU basketball for the area. He talked to me and said, hey, can you come film my kids' games? And I need to use it for help coaching. So I take my little camera system, a little setup, and we go film them. And then next thing you know, people are like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Hey, can you stream? Can you do it? And it just rolled. Then I started helping Keith out with a talk show we were doing for a little while. He wanted to do more webcasting than podcasting type stuff. And then that went in. And then next thing you know, it was Pee Wee football. We did the Bob Driver with the Lumpkins down in Trotwood. And we did that. And then that spawned into 4 Pee Wee Super Bowls by the end of the year. And I'm a crazy enough guy to be out in the morning from second graders to sixth graders streaming football for all the area. And people loved it. It was crazy. So I started hearing stories that people were talking about how people weren't promoting and highlighting, and the sports in the community was starting to get really a much larger gap in connection. There's nothing in the television or anything bringing community back to sports and bringing the ability for community to see sports like they used to when it used to be on TV all the time in most cities. Here, Spectrum, when it was Time Warner, used to stream all the time, multiple games and everything. They had a contract to do that. Now Spectrum doesn't stream as much. Kids don't get highlighted. There's a ton of sports in this area being done. So we decided to start taking a venture and going down that road. In the last year, we really refined what we're doing and processed and became up with a service where this next school season, we're actually trying to develop kits. I don't have the kit today here because I've got the baseball game coming
The
up.
size of a box.
That we will develop this sort of program into the high schools and start workforce developing young juniors and seniors in how to broadcast with newer technology, with this wireless technology, with streaming media, the games for the schools. And then hopefully they'll go into broadcasting careers, and maybe some of those that don't make it all the way in sports will go into broadcasting careers. But it's all about, I lost something that I saw was valuable. So one of my 3 pillars was I need to make sure that the games are able to be watched free so that parents don't get charged to watch it because they pay enough in taxes for schools. That's the way I felt. So we did that. We got that accomplished. Second one was schools don't have money. They need technology. They need capabilities. How do we get that to them and not make them have a budget crisis because they want to get this new technology to people? Because once you get it and it starts happening, it just goes, everybody wants it. And so we were able to accomplish that, and we have a plan for that. And then the third pillar was sponsor base. So the sponsor base for us wasn't just go out and go get a corporate sponsor and get McDonald's and say, hey, we'll pay for everything, throw a bunch of money at you. Can I set up tiers to have a big corporate level and a community level to where that local realtor, that local restaurant like Archer's, that local community can come together and be involved in the youth sports in the school and then be involved in the advertising and sponsorships of it because we do the regular ads like TV. We brought all that after school season's done. We take all that program and the kids that are in the school. So let's say it's Centerville. I'm going to use them as an example. They're in the program and they're running it, and they got juniors and seniors all year learning how to do all this. When they graduate or leave school for the summer, we bring them into our team and go do our youth summer community leagues, Little League Baseball stuff, and have them stream in it, talking about it with the kits we have for them. So then we're tying the community during the summer back to kids, back to schools, back to the community roots, and then getting ready for, again, school. So it's a bigger program, but that's kind of how we got involved. It dominoed into that, and that's what we've built over the last probably 2.5 years.
Now, next question. Are you thinking about going south, down to Cincinnati area?
Oh, we already are in Cincinnati. So we've gone in and done with Pee Wee. I was into the OP League. I was into Winton Woods, those areas, all those areas. And we did in high school, we did a Cincinnati College Prep Academy. Who actually
one of Westchester?
Yeah,
One of the
Westchester.
Pee Wee was at Westchester.
Yeah, Westchester. We did a lot in Cincinnati already, and we're looking with our contacts down there in Cincinnati, looking at actually doing the Cincinnati public schools and having kits for them through that. So we are going to have a kit go to Cincinnati College Prep Academy. They were a team that Division III, I think he was.
Yeah, 3 or 4.
Yeah, 3 or 4, and they first time ever they went to the state finals or regional play as a school. So they have a lot going on there with their coach. Jeremy is just great. So he's going to kind of help us get more exposure in the Cincinnati area. But we're always looking for help too. If you know a lot of people in Cincinnati, it's all about sponsors. The more sponsors we have, the faster we get the equipment into the schools and get the schools to learn. Here in Dayton, Cincinnati, and then Columbus too, some of that area as we can bubble in that little area. The MAC country is another one.
The last event we streamed was Centerville was playing Moeller in the regional semis in basketball at Centos with only a couple hundred people watching inside the arena, you can imagine.
Well, and that
the home of Byron Larkin.
That was unique because, so this is a big game for Centerville basketball. They're playing Moeller. And I think it was like that morning or the day before, they said, okay, the players can only bring 2 parents, maybe 3 people.
So it was the day before, and it took the Ohio Athletic Association almost 24 hours to make a decision that they'll allow streamers in to broadcast the game. Because normally they don't do that. It's taped. There's different rules when you get to that level because of contract. So I called you at 11 o'clock at night, I think.
Which I'm usually 2 hours of sleep by then, but I happen to be awake. And so it was really cool because we got to stream the Centerville Moeller game live in our restaurant, and everybody from Centerville came in to watch it and could see what was going on. It was really cool.
So
we were right under the basket. You know, that was a good setup. The table was nice, but we were under the basket. That was a different field, but they got a chance to watch it. And then when we got back, 2 NBA players tested positive, and it just went.
Yeah, and I can tell you a real story that really cuts why this is so important to me too. Not just for everything I just told you, and that's work, and that's job, and that's business. But when I did youth level wrestling, and we were at Wright State, was 50 teams wrestling in the second to sixth graders wrestling, the Miami Valley Youth Wrestling Association, big tournament, and we're streaming this. And there was a guy online chatting to us. And we get it in baseball now, too. We get them from all over the place. But this was the first time we've seen this. He said, I got an email and a text from him. He said, thank you so much for doing this, what you're doing. Because we're there for free, basically. Right. If we don't have a sponsor, we're still doing it because I committed to it. Right. And he said, thank you so much for doing this. I have never been able to watch my grandson ever wrestle or do any sports because I live in Florida and I can't travel. But I was able with your stream. And then he was chatting to us, so we knew what Matt, his grandson, was coming up. And so we actually had the zooming camera on him at that time. And he was just emphatic. That's the other reason why we do it. Or right now, Springfield has a coach that has a father where the kids are playing in, and he's handicapped and can't get out. And they were going to try to make arrangements at the field. Well, guess what? He came and talked to me, and I said, listen, we'll get it streamed. We'll make sure the coach highlighted. He wants to try to stream every game. Now they're talking to people to sponsor us to do just that team every game, just so the dad can watch it at home because he's got cerebral palsy, so he can't get out there. Right. These are the reasons we need to do this. That's that's one of the big reasons I do.
Now we can capture it and bring it to them. Wherever that location is, there's a lot of options.
Now, granted, there's a business model behind it. Like I said, we're sponsor-based, so we always look for people like Dan. He's a sponsor and stuff, and we do these sort of things, too, to help promote his business for it.
And so far, it's working well.
Yeah, I think we're doing it. We just started, really. Yeah. I think we put the TV. We were watching Centerville baseball yesterday because I didn't realize we had it. I texted you, hey, we're Centerville's Little League's playing, and you had people coming in the store saying, hey, you got that on the TV?
Yeah, and I was playing in my golf league last night, and I'm getting texts going, were we supposed to be watching this right now?
You can't just be a bartender or a manager. You have to be technically –
you got to do it all, man.
Get the TVs on.
So, and by the way, Centerville's playing again tonight. Just to give you guys a warning in your restaurants.
It will be on.
Centerville is playing tonight.
But baseball is going to be a big thing, and you can imagine the training and the academy. It's that feel too of the development of the kids, And I don't know, it's exciting. There's a lot of stuff that probably every game or every location we run into something, we learn something new.
Especially in the youth sports. I'm adamantly fanatic of how many. I mean, I would say high school is a big thing and varsity is a big thing, but I would do freshman, JV, varsity. But when you go into the youth stuff and where nobody really wants to spend time with cameras and stuff and spend a whole day in a booth, and especially if you're not really structured yet to be fully sponsored out in the heat, streaming games and calling balls and strikes, it's almost like being the umpire. He's out there all day long, but, he's getting paid at least. To do all that. But again, it's when we have 200-300 people online from all over. Like last night, it was Florida to Seattle to California.
Washington, we looked down, it was like Seattle, Washington, and then Colorado Springs. We had
those
you did some time in Colorado. I know she did some Colorado, Minnesota, but then Florida.
And we're seeing 1,000 to 2,000 viewers after over the time of the show for different teams are popping in and out. That we're calculating 2,000 viewers. Between the 3 sites we streamed to, we had 5,000 viewers.
Wow, that's pretty good.
And that's for Little League.
It goes from live to then on demand.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So,
and then it's on demand.
If you miss this today, you can tune in later to one of the Facebook pages and watch the interview again. Share it with people and relive all this great information we're dishing.
Yeah, that's the good thing with the grandparents or the relatives. If they have a chance, they can have them. They can see it even if they missed it live. So.
Yeah, I growing up, my grandfather used to, come see me play all the time in Little League. So I understand the grandparents. They want to see their grandson or, granddaughter play sports, when they're young. He never saw me play. He saw me play one professional game because when I got called up to the big leagues and pitched against San Diego, that's the only big league game he ever saw me play. But from when I was playing Little League, he always came to see me play. And we only played like once or twice a week. It's not like now. So he made time on the weekends to come see me play. Every weekend he was there.
Especially now with this thing going on, we've had a lot of coaches. Well, the guy from Centerville said, "Man, this is great because my dad, it's hard for him to come out anyway, especially now. It's the unknowns for now. So that he goes, man, for him to be able to just stay home and relax, but can be part of it. So we're hearing that all the time now. That's just another because of what's going on in the situation.
Yep.
So.
That's the biggest thing right now.
So thank you for being here, Mo.
Definitely.
For just being part of, this is just a show to get the message out for multiple things. So.
Well, I mean, I'm always advocating for youth baseball.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say that's my mission, but I like to help kids out.
Nice.
And that's my biggest thing. People help me out along the way. I just want to make sure I help them out and make sure they guide in the right direction.
Right. Yeah.
It's so many different people out there. Especially at the younger level, they want to win more than teaching the kids the right way. It's totally opposite. Teach the guys the right way.
Then they'll win.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, and then they will want to play it longer and get more out of it. So that's my biggest goal.
Exactly.
It's definitely a good path. Like you said, I had daughters. I grew up playing baseball, but then I had daughters, so I got into the girls' softball. But so I haven't been around baseball, so I finally, it's like I'm back in baseball again. It's been a long time. That baseball was always that other diamond.
Yeah, it is.
It was the diamond over there, but I was never on it.
Yeah, that bigger diamond.
Yeah.
So we're going to wrap it up here in just a second, but I do want to ask you one more question, and then we're done because these guys got to go to one of their games. Favorite all-time memory in baseball?
Just getting called up to the big leagues.
Calling to the big leagues.
Just getting the call.
She said at San Diego. Yeah, I was going to say that's a good question. Take us back to
Well,
the
you
lead
were a
into
Padre?
that.
No, I was a Red.
AAA. Where'd you do your AAA at or your AA?
I was in AAA. Actually, we had a doubleheader that day, and I pitched the first game. That night, the manager said, "Hey, I want to talk to you in the restaurant in the hotel after the game." I said, "Okay." I didn't know what for. I pitched a good game, so I don't know if he want to talk about that. Then he said, "You can call your folks and go into the big leagues the next day."
That's awesome.
I'm like, okay. I didn't have a suit. I didn't have a tie. I didn't have anything. So I'm getting called up to the big leagues. We was in Oklahoma. No, we were in Omaha, actually.
Omaha.
So I flew from Omaha
World Series, College World Series, Omaha.
Yeah, we went to Cincinnati. So I got to Cincinnati. Then I stayed downtown. So I walked to the park and got there. I think I got there early and put my uniform on.
Guess I never thought about that because you're Cincinnati Red, you were part of the organization. You had been in Cincinnati yet.
Yeah, actually, I played.
Or had you been in there a little bit? Okay.
Well,
never thought about that.
I was playing the summer league team in '88 in Cincinnati.
Okay.
So I'm familiar with the city.
Right.
But never been in the park.
Right.
On the field. So, but the first time on the field, I just went out, got dressed, and just went out.
Which is still riverfront, right? I mean, you're going into the. That's a good question because it's just the feel of that. The first time the coach tells you, you're going to the big leagues.
Well, I want to personally thank you for coming up here and taking time out of your day. Like I said, we have a friendship, but you won't meet a better person than Mo.
Yeah,
And,
it was nice having you on for sure.
Great way to.
Anything you guys need, just let me know.
Yeah, we'll talk to Dan and reach out, and I got some thoughts. I can hold you to that help.
Well, I'll give you my number. You don't have to
Yeah.
call Dan.
Yeah.
Dan don't want. I don't want.
Look at that, Dan. Dan, I just cut you out. Sorry, Dan.
Yeah, I'm done.
I don't know what I smell smoker and crabs sometime in the future too to do something really
We're
cool.
gonna have your crab cakes all weekend.
Yeah.
We'll be serving
All
them
right.
at Archer's locations.
Yeah.
Okay.
And, you'll be back here again for sure. You'll be invited back. So.
All right, guys, that sounds good. I'm going to play the music and cut us out. We appreciate everybody for tuning in today for the Taste of Sports here at Archer's Tavern in
See you at the
Kettering.
ballpark tonight.
And we'll see you at the ballpark. That's our next stop. We're going to rush our way to get there.
It's at the crab.